So, what's wrong with it?
Everything.
What was that?
Everything.
No, I couldn't hear you.
Everything!
You know what makes me bang my head against the wall and push me till I fall down, baby. The way you wanted it, and oh, I never seem to know which way you wanna go down, baby. And I can't take this anymore. Bang my head against the wall and push me till I fall down, baby. The way you wanted it, and oh, I never seem to know which way you wanna go down, baby.
This really should never happen. Like, under any circumstances. I just need to throw that out there right fucking now. Oh my god. When your game is making me question whether or not you were a worse Sonic game than Sonic 06, you get your priorities straight. I don't see how that's possible. I still can't really believe it. My brain refuses to accept this notion. Because there's only a handful of Sonic games that ever put that question in my brain. And usually it was an instant no. It's not worse than 06. For one, they were older than 06. All of them, in fact. And for two, they're just not as bad as 06. I mean that's recap. I mean, you have Sonic R, a game I absolutely hated and slammed in every conceivable regard, because it sucks in every conceivable regard. But you know, the thing about Sonic R is that it's still possible to enjoy it in a weird way. I've gotten a lot of people who complain to me about how I was too hard on the game because it's possible to have fun with it in its stupidity. You know, being able to run off the track and do whatever. If you play with a friend and screw around, you can laugh at it. Which, yes, that's true. It's possible to enjoy the game in that regard. However, that doesn't mean the game is good. In fact, that would mean the game is bad. Very bad. So bad it's good. You know what I mean? It's like the video game equivalent of The Room.
Everybody betrayed me. I fed up with this world.
I don't see how that would magically make it a good game, because it doesn't. Then you have Sonic Blast, which is also a really bad game. But, you know, it had some things going for it. I mean, with the graphics as ugly as they ended up looking, I saw what they were at least trying to accomplish. They wanted to make something that looked really good on the Game Gear. And you know, I gotta say, the bosses at the very least were decent. I mean, there's stuff to like in Sonic Blast. Positive aspects exist. And then you have Sonic 06, which is probably the worst Sonic game ever made. But it was so bad that it almost destroyed the franchise, I would argue. It was one of the worst things imaginable when it comes to Sonic. And now, oh now, you've managed to put out a game that actually makes me have to debate whether or not you are a worse game than Sonic 06. Sonic fucking Boom, what'd you do? I mean, seriously, that should not be a question. Like, ever. And you know what the worst part is? I'm starting to wonder if the answer is yes, it is a worse game than Sonic 06. Because Sonic 06, as bad as it was, had a couple of redeeming factors. The music was at least decent, and some of the cinematics looked beautiful for the time. But Sonic Boom doesn't even have that much. It has nothing. It has nothing. Nothing going for it. Not one aspect of this game could be viewed as positive. There are certain things about it that I could say could have been good if the game was, you know, in any way finished. But I've never played a game so not done. Like, whenever I played Ninja Gaiden 2, I felt like I was playing a beta, because the game was obviously unfinished in many respects. But at least there, it was finished enough that I could play it and have at least some semblance of fun with it. I didn't like the game at all, but I understand why people enjoyed it, you know? And even Sonic 06 had some things that were done about it, some things that were functional, very few, but they were there. Sonic Boom has nothing! But I should probably stop complaining about that and actually explain to you why the game is so bad. Because, you know, that would help, in my mind. You know, I don't even know where to begin, actually. That's the worst part about it. Because At first, I was gonna tackle this the same way I tackled Sonic 06, which is just to go from start to finish and, you know, highlight every single point. But I can't do that with Sonic Boom because I'm still not even sure what happened in this game. Like, the game is so broken from a plot flow perspective that I don't remember the order of things, so the order doesn't matter because nothing means anything. There's no flowing arc. There's nothing. Let's just try to start at the beginning and see where this goes. You know, we can tackle things, you know, we can try to break it down if we want. We can do that. That's a thing. Let's try that. Let's try that. And hope for the best. This is going to end well. What I'm trying to say. So, the game starts off with Sonic and crew running around at the speed of sound. Yay. And you know, the first thing I noticed about the game was the frame rate, which is a consistent issue. To begin with, I'm fairly certain the game runs at 30 frames per second, which is fine. I don't mind that. But here's the thing. If you're gonna run at 30 frames per second, I don't expect the frame rate to dip. Like, ever. The frame rate dips all the fucking time in this game. I still don't understand why. It looks hideously choppy. And that's only compounded by the fact that the graphics themselves really aren't that good. Many textures are blocky or obviously unfinished. Many character models seem blocky and obviously unfinished. Really, visuals overall in this game, there's nothing positive to say about them. Even animations aren't that good. Things are forced. It reminds me a bit of Sonic 06 in that regard, with unfinished and forced animations. Only even worse. Which again, I just feel like that should never happen. Fucking ever. Sound is also hideously disappointing. You know, the one thing about Sonic games is remain fairly consistent, is that the music has been quite decent and memorable. And Sonic Boom decided that that really wasn't a necessary thing. This has one of the most forgettable soundtracks I've ever heard in a video game. And that just fucking, wow, really? How do you, why would you, no, I can't even begin to explain what's wrong with that. Like, you have a franchise that's known for having decent music. Even the bad games have good music. You can't even do that much. As for the voice acting, you know, which I guess I have to talk about because it's a Sonic game, and apparently that's really important. The voice acting would be fine if not for one consistent issue. The characters never shut up! They talk constantly, all the time, and often repeat the same lines over and over and over again. Especially when you're in the middle of a puzzle, which I must put in quotes heavily, because there's really nothing that could be considered a puzzle in this game. But, you know, whatever. They constantly drop the same hints over and over and over again. It's so ridiculously frequent. Every 10 goddamn seconds, someone feels the need to open their gaping fucking mouth hole. Just shut up! And no, they never do. Ever. They're always fucking jibber-jabbering. Oh my god. Fucking zip it. Jesus Christ. And I haven't even really talked about the gameplay yet, have I? Oh my god. I haven't even gotten there. Jesus, tap dancing Christ. Okay. I was trying to figure out how to break the gameplay down, because there's a variety of different things to consider here, but the fact that each character has different abilities, and the fact that you can switch between them mid-gameplay. Also, and there are actually different segments. There are speed segments, platforming segments, and combat segments, and they're all broken down into different gameplay styles. For example, the game starts out in a speed segment, but then jumps into a combat segment, and then gets to the platforming. It's all different and separated. Unlike other Sonic games which blended all three of these things together, no, that would make too much goddamn sense. The speed segments are very akin to something you get out of Sonic Unleashed, except crap. The combat segments remind me of a very watered-down version of really any beat-em-up like Bayonetta or something. You know, if it was crap. And the platforming segments are funny because each character platforms completely differently. I guess I wanted to highlight every single character's different abilities, but it's just jarring. There's very few situations where you have to combine each character's abilities to get to certain areas. You almost never have to utilize different characters to accomplish a very specific task. You can basically power through the game using only one. And to highlight each character's different abilities, I'll say that Sonic has a spin dash and a double jump because fucking yay. Tails has technology he can utilize and the ability to glide. Note, I stress glide, not hover. Not even float upwards, without the use of a fan anyway. He glides, which is a little confusing. Amy is arguably the most fun out of all four of them. In fact, you'll notice in this footage I seem to be playing as her more than any other character. That is because Amy's platforming is interesting on the basis that, to begin with, she has a triple jump, which is odd, but it's immensely useful for getting through certain areas. But in addition to that, she also has a bunch of gymnastics moves. It feels like a really poor man's Tomb Raider Underworld in that regard, but it's the closest this game comes to being interesting. Her ability to run on rails and do flips, it actually makes the platforming a little bit enjoyable, or at least as close as this game could possibly come to that word, which it can't. And then there's Knuckles, which, oh my god. Fucking really? Okay, see, Knuckles has this issue. You remember how, when Knuckles was first introduced in the Sonic universe, you know, he could, like, glide. You know, that was, like, a thing he did. A lot. That was, like, one of the main reasons you would play as him. Well, I feel the need to point out that Knuckles cannot glide anymore. At all. At all. Not whatsoever can he glide. And he can only climb specific walls. Ones with giant gaping red obvious crystals on them. He can't climb any wall anymore. And he can also do this, you know, weird overhang thing, again, on very specific ceilings. You basically took everything about Knuckles that people liked and took it away. I just feel like that is counterproductive. But, you know, the best thing about it is that while his official abilities are all screwed up, and in no way involve the word flight, there is a bug with Knuckles that basically lets you fly better than anybody else in the game. For real. Knuckles has this weird attack animation that you can accomplish with the X button. If you pause the game at a very specific moment and time it just right, you'll be able to redo the animation and basically constantly get a boost upwards. You have to do a lot of pausing and unpausing, but if you get good about the timing, you'll basically be able to skip entire segments of the game with this glitch. So, I guess they didn't get rid of Knuckles' ability to glide after all. He is actually better at it than anybody else. So, there's that. I'd love to sit here and tell you that each different level might actually have, you know, unique aspects and, you know, things to do, but effectively you're going to be doing the same things over and over and over again. There are basically two different kinds of puzzles in the game as well. One involving these stupid floor panels that tell you exactly which ones to jump on. So again, the concept of it being a puzzle is null and void when the game gives you the answer. And then there's ones where you have to find a lever and pull it, and that's it. There's nothing more to it at all. You know, I want to say this game is baby's first platform, but even babies should have their intelligence insulted by this piece of crap. You're almost always told exactly what to do, and you don't lose all your rings when you get hit by anything. You only lose about 10 rings per hit, if that. And I know I just said that the game almost always tells you where to go, but there's one time where it decides to not do that, and that's the overworld, because yes, of course, they had to have a world map in this game because that doesn't serve as artificial padding to make the game longer whatsoever. Oh no. And for the record, the world maps fucking suck in this game, like hardcore. They are some of the worst world maps I have ever seen in any digital medium, period. Why? Well, to begin with, it makes Sonic 06's world maps look good. Because at least there was something happening. These are the emptiest, most boring world maps I've ever fucking seen. There's nobody here except plot-critical NPCs or the occasional side quest, which you never want to do, because they're fucking stupid and a waste of your goddamn time. This is a town. This is a town. There is nobody here. There is nobody here. They made a town in a game that is empty! At least when I walked around Soleana, there were people, you know, like, that would actually live in a town? Good God! And what about the bugs? Darkness, how much about them? Because I've only mentioned one glitch so far, there's plenty more. There are numerous game breaker bugs in this game, and I mean numerous ones. You know, again, say what you will about Sonic 06, the glitches that were there typically didn't break the game. They typically didn't force you to have to get up and restart your console in order to continue. That was not something that usually happened. Sonic Boom made me do that twice, on 2 separate occasions during one single playthrough. The first one actually happened on live stream, and I wish I still had the footage for it, because I don't anymore, which really sucks, because it happened on the tutorial level. I wound up phasing through a wall. I got stuck in an area that I couldn't get out of. I wasn't even 5 minutes into the game and this already happened. But the one I do have footage for happened a little bit later. But you have to launch these frickin' buddy bots through this hole, and they kept getting killed by the laser, and at first I didn't realize what was going on. So eventually I just said fuck it and restarted, and then I realized what happened. See, the lasers aren't supposed to start until you cross over to the other side of the barrier. But for some reason the game triggered them anyway, making it so that it was impossible to progress. Again, these are things that should just never happen in this game. These should have been ironed out. These are basic issues that shouldn't happen. And the boss fights aren't doing the game any favors. Plenty of them are boring, too easy, and a waste of time. Lyric, the final boss, is so fucking unfinished you would not believe. I have never seen a boss so jittery and fucked up in my life. It was the worst experience. See, the thing with Lyric is that he's like this ancient, evil guy, snake thing that wants to destroy all organic life except himself because robots are better or something dumb. I don't know. His motivation sounds fucking stupid. And you end up letting him out on accident because I guess that was a thing. Why they didn't just kill him, I don't know. And there's a temple that can only be opened by Sonic's hand, except, you know, when they go back to the past, which is the future but the past, to do that they have no way of measuring Sonic's hand in order to allow that to happen. And wait, right, I forgot to mention that there's a time travel element in the game where you go back in time to stop Lyric so you can save the future.
For the future.
No! Fortunately, Silver is not in this game. Otherwise, I would have had to burn the world down. Out of principle. So yeah, you end up going to the past to save the future, even though it doesn't make sense that you would do that, because, like, there's like a hero thing, but when you go back to do it, you just lock him in a room and that's all you do. It's like, the plot is so inconcise, and there's basic holes in it. Like, I would actually count the plot holes, except that there isn't, like, little individual holes, you know, like Sonic 06's was like Swiss cheese, where there was a bunch of little holes all over the place. Whereas Sonic Boom's plot has, like, gaping voids in it. Things that just aren't established or aren't explained. Like there's this water level later in the game, right, where Sonic and Amy only go down there. They're only two. The party separates, which happens all the time in this game. The party breaks up. So it's just Sonic and Amy. And then, when you find the submarine down there to get to escape, all of a sudden, Knuckles and Tails are magically there. When did they get there? I don't know. It reminds me of that other science-y level in Sonic's story arc and Sonic 06, where Knuckles and Tails again show up out of nowhere and are just there. They weren't following Sonic. They're just magically there, inexplicably. So, you know, but like little stuff like that happens all the time. And there's no way to follow anything in this game. There's no emotional attachment to characters, nobody gets developed at all, and the only thing that happens is that occasionally one of their ridiculous puns might make me half laugh, or, you know, question the meaning of my continued existence. Shadow's in this game. Why is Shadow in this game? I wonder. I still wonder this, because he has zero motivation for being here. He has very little character at all. And the thing that really offends me about that is that in the other games, Shadow is arguably the most developed Sonic character there is. He has a detailed backstory. He has understandable motivations. He has a deep character arc. I mean, you know, they took the time to establish him, whereas here, he's a Black Sonic who comes in to beat your ass. It's a completely jarring experience. He's only here just to be a random fan servicey boss fight. But even the fans who want to see him should be offended by this because they took all the likable things about Shadow and removed them. He's a pure shell of what he originally was, and that pisses me right the fuck off because Shadow was one of my favorite characters.
Haha, Darkness, that's right. You see, my presence alone is insufficient. You must have character development. Maria!
Right, so anyway. And yes, I know, apparently in the 3DS game, they explained that it might have been because Lyric was controlling him. Which is fucking bullshit, by the way. At least with Metal Sonic being here, I understand, because Robotnik's here. And since Robotnik's here, he brought his greatest creation to fight Sonic. Metal Sonic. His reason for being is established, or at least implied. Shadow's, not so much. Sonic was fine for a long time before this. Like, after 06, we had Unleashed, which had some complaints with it, but was a pretty decent step in the right direction. And, you know, then we had Sonic Colors, which I didn't like, but many did. It was obviously a good game, because people enjoyed it, you know, besides myself. Sonic Generations was fucking awesome, and they should do more of that, because that was great. And then Sonic Lost World, which faltered a little bit, was still an enjoyable experience. And now we have Sonic Boom, which takes us right back to square one. We are right back down to where we were. Bottom of the barrel bullshit. We should not be here again. This should have been fixed before. We shouldn't have regressed so far. And we're back to the initial question. Is this game a worse game than Sonic 06? A question I should never have to ask. And the answer is no. You're probably very confused. Okay. Now, from every other standpoint, from a graphics perspective, from a gameplay perspective, from a glitches perspective, from a plot perspective, in basically every way, this game is worse than Sonic 06. But overall, it is not a worse game than Sonic 06, and there is only one reason for that. There is one reason why this game is still not the worst Sonic game ever made, and it is purely because it can be ignored. See, Sonic Boom has the incredible blessing of not being a part of the main canon. It's its own separate universe. Therefore, it and its 3DS game are in their own little world, off in the corner somewhere. Sonic 06, I have to acknowledge, because it's a part of the main canon, as depressing as that might be. Generations drove that point home pretty hard when it had Crisis City as a level. So it's obvious that Sonic 06 is a part of the main story and has to exist. But Sonic Boom isn't. It's in its own universe. It's in its own canon. I don't have to acknowledge it. I can pretend like that shit never happened because it's off in its own little world. So yes, the only reason that Sonic Boom is not technically a worse Sonic game than Sonic 06 is purely for the fact that it can be ignored. But from a technical perspective, oh god, it's worse in every conceivable way. It is such a bad fucking game that I still refuse to acknowledge how bad it is. I probably didn't even give you every single flaw in this game because it would be a waste of fucking time. There is no reason why you should ever want to experience this game. And I do mean none. Do not bother. Play anything else. Literally any other game in the Sonic franchise would be a better option at this point. You have a Wii U and want to play Sonic Lost World. It is so much better. At least now I know that I've covered basically every bad Sonic game there is.